So, Russ, the macro guy, one of our esteemed members, is going to do a presentation on night photography. So I'll just hand it over to you, Russ.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Night photography on how to. There's a bunch of stuff we're going to cover. I'm going to try to go through it as fast as I can. I have the Milky Way. I have the moon. I have.
Oh, can I interrupt just a minute? Are you recording this, Brian?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, go ahead.
All right, cool. So, okay, let's get started. Okay, so I start out with your basic settings. Your settings may vary depending on your camera and lens. And I say that because some sensors take night photography better than others. So here are some basic settings you should try on your next night photography trip. So your ISO, you always want to set that, of course, as low as possible. Again, that can vary between your camera and your lens. Also depends on how much light is coming in through your subject. So if you look at this photo here, you see it's a cityscape photo. So you see a lot of light is coming through. And so that actually helps with your ISO, lowering it. The darker it is, of course, sometimes the higher you have to go. Okay, everybody, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, go to the next one then. Manual mode, try to get you off of auto if you use that a lot. This will give you the option to take creative control over your shutter speed, f-stop, sometimes your white balance and your ISO. Sometimes when I'm shooting a landscape, I'll use the AV. I'm not sure what it's for on Icon, but manual, bulb. And then you got your auto over here as well. But usually in night photography, it's based on manual mode. Okay, so your shutter speed. This could depend on your camera and your lens again too. If you look at the chart here, you can see the lower the number, the more blur you'll have if you're hand holding your camera. So a good starting point is usually about 30 seconds for night photography. If you go any higher than 30 seconds, sometimes it's not as bright. So we'll get into that later. Your f-stop, usually the lowest you can go. See, it usually depends on the subject that you plan on shooting. I set my f-stop at the lowest. It'll go usually around 2.8. I got a couple new lenses that'll go 1.4, which is pretty good if it's really dark outside, but normally about 2.8 is where I keep it. That's usually good for the Milky Way, Northern Lights, star trails, and fireworks. Okay, and your white balance. White balance is pretty tricky in some light situations. I find shooting in auto and making adjustments in Photoshop Lightroom works out. It's fine. So sometimes if you don't have the right white balance, you could always fix it in post-processing. I do that a lot in Lightroom, actually. And some of my photography, sometimes I'll forget about it and just set it in auto and then fix it later if I need to. Manual.
In your white balance, is there a setting that you normally use mostly?
Actually, a lot of it, I may set it in auto. I would probably say mostly auto, white balance. Depending on what I'm shooting, like cityscape. A lot of time it's usually, I think it's the cloudy one that I use.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so manual focus. You want to put that on manual. If it's on autofocus, sometimes when you're photographing something, you'll get that slight movement, and that's just enough to knock it out of focus. And so you want to put it in manual focus. Image stabilization, it all depends too. I usually shut that off. We'll discuss that in a little while. But there's a couple things that I usually use that for, and I use that if I'm hand holding my camera. So yes, it says set your lens to manual focus, set your focus to infinity for night sky photography. And if you look at some of these, I know there's a lot of Nikon. I'm a Canon shooter, so I tried to mix it up a little bit in the photos. Canon, you have to put it on focus and then you have to slightly turn it to the left. There's a little, can you see this okay?
Yes.
Here, you'll see the little infinity symbol, and then there's this little bar here. I usually set it along that bar, and it's usually perfect. Anything that before or after seem to get a little blur. But if I put it right on that line, it's usually perfect. So, any questions?
I had a question about using the lowest ISO you can.
Yep.
That would make for longer shots.
Yes.
Is it because higher ISOs would get pixelated?
Using a higher ISO, you begin to battle with noise in your photo. And so going down to about 100, that helps it out big time. If you start getting it all depends on your camera too. When I started out, I used a Canon Rebel, and I did some night shots, and the noise was horrible. And then I upgraded to the 5D Mark III, and total difference from night and day actually. And so I was able to use that ISO and bring it down to 100. Either way, either camera you look, if you put it on 100, that's
So go ahead.
some of it as well. We'll go through. Sometimes 100 ain't good enough, but usually 100 on ISO. Usually you got some kind of light coming in, like a cityscape or of some sort. But when you get into like star trails and stuff, that's when you got to start worrying about your ISO and bringing it up. And we'll discuss that here in a little bit.
So you're not as worried about sharpness then, if you're down at that f2.8. It's less sharp than if you're at f16 or f22.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually, yeah, I'm usually at about 2.8, depending on my lens too. At the time, I had this, and my lowest, like f-stop and all that, isn't great. I can't get down to 2.8 with this because I think.
Yeah, sounds good.
It is. So, okay, so let's go on to equipment. Of course, shooting night photography, you need a tripod. You will need a tripod for your camera because of the motion blur and from your slow shutter speed. And then this is where I say you turn off. Canon calls it image stabilization. I'm not sure what Nikon calls it. Does anybody know?
Yeah, they call it they call it stabilization.
Like, okay. I know that they got different wording for cameras, so, but that's what Canon calls it, image stabilization, because you don't need it because you're on a tripod. And it's not gonna be moving, so you don't need that on. Remote camera trigger. You'll need this to stop motion blur while your shutter's open. You may use your timer on your camera as well. And I actually got a story on my trigger and the timer. I was shooting some fireworks, and I dropped my trigger in the sand. And when I done that, it got stuck. So I couldn't use it anymore. So I ended up going into my menu in my camera and setting it to the 2-second timer. So if you ever have trouble with that, you could always go and use your timer. Because if you're using your button, you tend to move your camera a lot, and you're going to have a lot of blur if you do that. So use your timer if you don't have a remote trigger.
Do you ever use the bulb setting for that?
Yeah, not for fireworks,
Okay.
star trails, and there's some other things that I use it for.
Okay.
But like if you're taking the Milky Way, I wouldn't suggest it because your stars, and we'll discuss that too later, is the stars, the dot becomes like a line. So it kind
Okay.
of flattens it out, but we'll discuss that later.
Sure.
Okay, so I'd like to talk about some of this. Some accessories that I bring with me out onto the field. One of them is my power bank. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see if I can adjust this. So this power bank I got off of Amazon for $37. It has a solar panel on the back so we can charge. It also has 3 ports, so you can charge 3 individual things. You can also charge your cell phone on this part here. If you set your cell phone on it, it's got that QI, I think it is, so it'll charge your cell phone. So you can charge up to 4 things on this device alone. It's also a flashlight. It works. There we go. So you can adjust the beams and stuff as well. So I carry this everywhere with me. I can go camping with this because this comes in handy when it comes to charging yourself or you need light. You're outside in the dark, so you definitely need some kind of flashlight so you can see your camera.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I have is a headlamp. This headlamp was $9 on Wish, and it's very, very bright. You can have 2 on, 1, or you can have it blink in just in case you have an emergency or something. It has batteries in here that you can interchange. So I have this, and I have a couple spare batteries as well, just in case. You can buy one of these. Last time I think I saw one of these was at Walgreens. I think they're like 14 bucks. It has an adjustable beam on it, very bright. Pretty durable too. I've dropped it quite a few times, and it seems to work very well. But I'll also drop it in water. And you want to carry some extra batteries for your camera. I have this little thing here, and it has a USB. So when you're doing like star trails or something, your camera's constantly working. And 2, that cooler air tends to drain batteries a lot faster. So I have this, and I actually plug this in if my batteries are low. Charges really good. Any questions on accessories or anything?
That looks good.
Something else too, when you're out doing night photography, you want a bigger SD card. One reliable. You don't want to go cheap with any of those because I bought one from Wish, and it was a disaster. It didn't work out right at all. So buy a good SD card. And sometimes I use 32 gig. That usually shows that seems to be plenty enough room without running out, but carry extras just in case. Are there any questions on any of that stuff? Anybody got any input on something that maybe I should have added to that or anything?
Well, I was wondering about a red light. When I go out at night, I take a red light, the red flashlight.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
So it doesn't mess with your vision.
Right. I think a green one. green one as well. You know, to be honest with you, I think this headlamp came with a couple caps that goes over it. And it comes with a red one and a green one.
Yeah.
So,
Also on the memory cards, isn't there a specification that indicates that it's a much faster card that takes the data and writes
Yeah.
it very quickly?
So on this small SD card, it'll say, this one says 80 megabits a second. And usually the higher that number, the faster it is. My camera takes the compact flash. I don't know, can anybody see that okay? It says 160.
I just see the question screen.
Oh, you can't just see the question?
You have to see that he's presenting too.
So I have a compact flash and it says 160 megabytes a second. And that's the one I usually use in my camera, but they have an SD card that does the same. That speed really isn't important unless you're getting into like macro photography or you're holding your button down and you're taking a lot of pictures in a few seconds.
And it's absolutely critical for video if you're shooting video. I don't know how many people shoot video with their regular cameras, but yeah.
Yeah, that's something. If I do a video in my camera, like different little video things, like outside, yeah, I'll use that for sure. Some of them other ones just can't keep up. So, okay, shall we go on to the next subject? Which I do believe is the Northern Lights. So this can be challenging to shoot. Why? Because it's moving and it's fading in and out. And it's very unpredictable. If you look at this picture here, you see that it looks kind of like a storm radar. We'll get into that in just a second. But you'll see that all that red there, if you see this, you better look outside because it's up there. I'll show you. Prepare to stay up late. Usually a good night is usually about 2 a.m. is a good time to be out there. And usually, looking at this map, it's about 2 o'clock in the morning. And so cdn.softsurfnews.com is a website. They have a Facebook as well. And it also shows you different things like the moon phase and other things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to bring that up. Okay, can everybody see this okay?
Yeah, I can.
So they usually take a random photo from people that send them in. But the first thing I look at here is it says the latest forecast. In 12 minutes, the aurora will be quiet. And then if you scroll down some more here, you see this chart down here where it says SoftSurf News Aurora Prediction Program estimates that. And the top one says 4 minutes, the geometric activity level KP number will be 1.33. It says quiet. So they have 4 different categories when it comes to saying quiet. It's quiet. They'll say it's active, very active, and then they say it's storm level.
And that's about is that about motion, movement?
This is based on the strength
Oh, okay.
of the Northern Lights.
Mhm.
So usually if it's a good one, it'll say storm level. And I'll get into this KP thing here in a second here. So I'm gonna go here to this little map, okay? So this is, these lines indicate possible viewing of the northern lights. And as you can see, the green line, we're here around the KP6. So we're in between the 5 and the 7. And so going back to this chart here, this will say, it says it's at 1.33. So if that was to say 1 point or 5.5 or 6, I've seen it at 7. That's a good indication that you'll be able to step outside and see it, as long as it's dark outside.
Where do you usually go, Russ?
I'll get into that, but
Okay.
usually Arcadia seems to be my favorite spot where the overlook is. I don't know if anybody knows where that's at. Right on 22, they have an overlook just north of Arcadia. It's high up. It overlooks the lake. Of course, northern lights come from the north, so you're always kind of looking north, but that seems to be my favorite spot because it's up high and it's above everything. So anyways, here's the map here. This is usually current when you load it up. This shows exactly where it's at and how strong it is. Of course, you can see we're in the daylight side. If you scroll down more, they'll give you the moon phase. And the moon phase is really important because if you have a full moon out, that means it's bright outside, and that's going to take away a lot from you viewing the northern lights. And I've had that trouble before too. Okay, so go back to this here. Okay, so there's another place you can go for a live look at the radar. And this may take a couple seconds to load up. This is called the Space Weather Prediction Center. And what this does is from the NOAA, and there's a few things you can look at here. You can look at sunbursts here. It allows you to look at the sun and the activity it's doing. This one with the map, we'll click that and we'll let it load a second. And this begins to show you like a live look of the past 24 hours of the activity. As you can see, it starts to grow a little bit there. Can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, looks good.
And so that's what I use when I want to see what's going on with the northern lights. And then underneath it is a little chart. This chart kind of goes by hourly or minutes, whichever they use, to show how strong it was. So you could see here on the 27th, it started to rise a little bit. I've also seen this all the way up here before. That was a good storm. But I definitely use these two websites to monitor what's going on. The Facebook page, for the last web page I showed you, if you like their page, they also give you they'll give you like weather alerts. Like if they know a storm's coming, they'll post it on their Facebook page. They'll let you know how long it's going to be and when it starts. So that'd be a good place to start. And that's called Soft Serve News. Right here. If you look that up on Facebook, that'll come up. All I did was like their page, and every time they post something like a weather alert of some sort, you'll know. And then they have a brief description, like I said, when it's going to start, how long it's going to be. Okay. So common enemy at taking photos of the northern lights are. I'm sorry, somebody say something? Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Well, I just wanted to point out, if you're going out in the sticks and you want to try to get this information on your phone, make sure your phone is well charged.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, you know, normally that's why I bring my little battery packs with me and stuff. So it's always a good idea to have that when you're out and about. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. So the common enemy of taking photos of the northern lights are clouds, fog, the moon, camera noise, and wind. Of course, if you go to the lake, you got to prepare to deal with a lot of wind. It does seem to die down sometime at nighttime, but on a clear night, with no moon or no clouds, that's the best time to take them. And here in Michigan, it's rare because usually you have one of the four down there. You either got some clouds, you either got a bunch of wind, or you got some kind of lights, whether it's the city or the moon, interfering with taking photos of the northern lights. So, okay. So here's a photo I took of the Mackinac Bridge.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I went to, there's a dark park up there. There's a story behind that one, but I ended up in a neighborhood on a beachfront here in Mackinac City when I took this photo.
I see your ISO is high.
Oh yeah, it was pretty high.
Yeah.
I put it at 800. I was flickering through different lenses I was trying. I had, of course, this is the 24 to 105 that I had, and then I had the 85 millimeter, and the 85 millimeter was way too much. Too close. So I ended up going with what I had, and that was the 24 to 105. Of course, you see where it says f4. I had to go up a little bit because that was as low as it would go. So I believe that's why I had to go up ISO 800.
Yeah.
30 second exposure at 24 millimeters. I was in manual mode. Manual focus, of course, set to infinity. And the camera I used at that time was the Mark III. And the lens I used was a 24 to 105. I recently upgraded. I went with a Sigma 20 millimeter for my landscape. So I haven't got a chance to use it much. I can't wait to use that. Let's see here. So any questions on that?
It's really beautiful, and I love the colors. It all works really well.
Yeah, it come together pretty nice. What I didn't put on here is this shot was taken at like 3:30 in the morning.
Oh.
So I ended up taking a little nap in my car, but it was pretty late. And that night, I do believe this was Labor Day weekend, I believe it was last year. What I didn't catch was they were shooting fireworks on both ends of the bridge. So that was pretty cool. But I was kind of hoping to catch all that with the Northern Lights, but that didn't happen. But this is when it decided to show up, was about 3:30 in the morning. So I was glad I was there when I caught it. Okay, I think we'll go on to our next subject, which is some fireworks.
That's one thing I've never done.
I do go into some more detail in this because, you know, it's that time.
Yeah.
We're getting pretty close to the 4th. I took these photos. The two end ones was from the Bear Lake days. Anybody familiar with Bear Lake knows that they have a BP gas station. Right across from their BP gas station is a little like swimming area. So I got there early enough to where I was able to get right in front of the water. And I took those photos. You'll see some more of those in this presentation. And then the one in the middle is from the Forest Festival. I took that one from the boardwalk. Okay, so photographing fireworks, tips you need to know. First tip is you need a tripod or a stable platform, because you will be shooting at slower shutter speeds. I say platform because the last time I went, there was a guy using his car hood to take photographs of fireworks. So some kind of stable platform or tripod is good when it comes to shooting fireworks. Sorry. Find and get to your spot as early as possible. Make sure you have plenty of space. You want to get there early. I get there, man, when it's still daylight early. Try to find out where they're shooting them at and then go from there. And what I mean by plenty of space is if you're in a thick crowd, then you're dealing with people standing in front of your camera. I've had that happen before. It forced me to actually move to a different place. And so getting there early allows you to pick your spot. And by all means, you want to keep it. So you'll have to bring yourself some supplies and stuff, which we'll talk about here in a second too as well. Use a wide angle lens if you have one. At the time I took those, I believe it was my 24 to 105. It's all I had. But if I had anything else, like a prime lens or anything, I'd have moved farther away, or I'd have relocated somewhere to where I know I was able to get the full effect of the fireworks. And so number 4 is ISO setting 100. So remember, your fireworks are very bright, so you may be able to lower your ISO settings on your camera. A lot of times you get those bright bursts with big bangs. Them are pretty bright. When you photograph them, they're going to be blowed out in your camera because of how bright they are. So I normally set it to 100, and then that's usually the one I usually leave it at. So number 5 is f-stop. Start around f4 range. You can go up a little ways with your f-stop. Anything lower may result in overexposure in your photo. When the firework goes off, you're going to see it's going to be all white, and it's not going to have any color in it. And so, excuse me, over exposing is can be a pretty big problem. To fix this, adjust your f-stop instead of your ISO. So trying different f-stops instead of adjusting your ISO, I usually find that works best for me and my camera. And so when you get there, set it to your ISO to 100, and if it's too bright, adjust your f-stop instead. That should help you out pretty good. Okay. Number 6, use of course manual mode or bulb mode. With either, you may adjust how many seconds to leave on with your shutter open. Start out with your shutter open for about 4 seconds, or in bulb mode, hold down your trigger release button for 4 or 5 seconds. The longer you set that, possibly the more fireworks you'll have in your photo. There are different tricks. If you have one and you thought maybe you wanted some more, you could also use Photoshop and layer them in. And so instead you have one picture, you have multiple fireworks in one picture. I've done that a couple times, and I ain't no genius at Photoshop by any means, but there is a way to do that. Everybody see that okay?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 7 is manual focus, infinity settings. Of course, that's pretty much just about everything when it comes to night photography. With manual focus and infinity setting, I've been pretty close to fireworks to where even the debris has fallen on me. Maybe infinity may not be best, but if you're a ways away, yeah, set it to infinity. The photo that you see here is of the Forest Festival. I was standing on the boardwalk there, and that's what I had it set at, was infinity. So it was far enough away for me to photograph that. Let's see, take a couple test shots. You want to do that anyways, make sure that you're in focus. Make sure your brightness is good. I use the backlit screen to do that. Number 8 is bring your supplies. You know, you want to bring a camping chair, your water, snack, your flashlight.
And don't forget bug spray.
Spray, definitely.
Sunscreen won't be necessary.
Yeah, won't need that.
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
sun-
Okay. Vertical or horizontal? Prepare to do both. That little notch in your tripod, that little notch there, I keep it right in place. So I'm constantly moving it when it comes to fireworks to try to give my best shot. So sometimes I gotta move the camera around. So try both, and you'll see that the results will be awesome. Of course, these pictures here too are from both the Bear Lake and the Forest Festival. The last one is practice. So how I started out is I just went to the store and I bought some. And I set my camera up, and I had my son actually light them while I stood back and photographed them. And so you can go to your local store, your dealer, pick up your stuff. You can practice. And then on the bottom, I say, please obey your local laws and use caution. But to me, that was a good way to practice. That way I knew kind of what I was doing when I actually got the chance to photograph fireworks. Any questions on any of that?
Oh, that's nice.
Hey, Russ.
Wow.
So when you say the boardwalk, are you talking about one of the piers? Like, are you talking about Fifth Avenue Pier?
Well, the Riverwalk, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So I live pretty close to the Fifth Avenue Pier, and it's pretty awesome to go there, and it's really easy to get right in front with nobody in front of you. And then the lights reflect off the water in the channel. It's a really good spot if you haven't ever gone there.
Oh yeah, I'll have to try that one. I've always went to First Street, but that Riverwalk, I seem to be able to get in there because it's open. I didn't have a bunch of people in front of me, so I was back away far enough. But no, I never tried the Fifth Avenue. I'll definitely next time we have fireworks.
Maybe next year, since they're not going to have them this year.
Not happening this year, is it?
No, none this year.
Right. Well, here's a photo that I took, of course, at the Bear Lake fireworks. They take like a pontoon of some sort of platform, and they take it out on the water, and they shoot their fireworks. So that's why you're seeing fireworks over the water, because they take them out to the lake and they shoot them off.
That
That's
is most
beautiful.
excellent.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love the colors on the water, the reflections.
Yeah, that's there's nothing photoshopped about that. I touched it up in Lightroom just a little bit, just to kind of bring out some of the colors, but that was it.
It's amazing.
Was that a surprise to you when you saw all the colors in the lake?
I was very surprised.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's gorgeous.
I took many photos of that that night, and that one come out the best.
Yeah, lovely.
I actually posted that on Facebook, and I got almost 5,000 views on that.
Wow.
So as you can see, I was set at 100, and on my ISO f4, of course, because that was the lowest my lens would go. And I was set for 8 seconds. That seemed to fit me pretty good. And if you look in the background, you can see that it was still kind of daylight out. I shot in manual mode, manual focus, and then at that time I had 5D Mark III. Actually, when I bought that camera, it actually came with that 24-105. So I had used that a lot, and you'll see that a lot in some of these photos that I have. Okay, is there any questions on fireworks? All right, we'll go on to the next subject, which is star trails. Done a few of them in my time.
Mm.
Back with my last camera. So if you look, you see I have it set at 1600 ISO. F5, 30 seconds at 13 millimeters. This was a totally different camera I was using. If you look down by the, in the snow, you see a little line down by the tree. That's my footsteps, and I'm actually holding a flashlight behind this tree. So I was actually trying to do some light painting is what I was doing as well. But this photo, I think, has 75 photos stacked together, I believe it is. At the time, this Canon 10 to 22 millimeter, that was for the crop sensor. And it would only fit on a crop sensor camera. So when I switched over to 5D, I went to full frame, and I couldn't use it anymore because it wouldn't fit the camera. So I had to get rid of that one as well. But it was a good camera. That lens did an amazing job for that camera.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Okay, so first you need to find the North Star.
Russ, please clarify. It said the exposure was 30 seconds.
Yes.
But you also said that you took a total of 75 exposures.
Yes, I'm going to explain that to you on how I done that. So setting it at 30 seconds, I used the trigger release and I locked it. So when you lock your trigger release, once it takes a photo, it begins another one right away. And it was about 75 photos I took. And I'm gonna show you what I did here on this slide right here. So first, it says first thing you need to find is the North Star. If you look in here, it kind of reminds me of a record.
Mm-hmm.
At the way the stars are, the way they're moving. But notice all the way over toward the left, you notice that there's a few stars there that are hardly moving. And that one that's the smallest is the North Star. Of course, I didn't get it in the center of the picture, but I used this just to show you that that's what the North Star does. It doesn't move. And I have a website here. I'll show you. This is the photo emphasis, or the photographer emphasis. You can download this, and what this does is it pinpoints, you put it on your phone, and it'll show you exactly where the North Star is. And so I would highly encourage to check this app out. There's other things it does as well, but the main reason you use this one is to find the North Star. So if say you're going to Arcadia or you're going to the beach and you're looking for the North Star, you pull this app up and it'll use the map and it'll point exactly where the North Star is, so you know where to set your camera up at. And then says it can take up to 200 photos stacked in a program called Star Stacks. This is how I made this photo with this program called Star Stacks. Star Stacks, so when you download it, it's really easy to use. Take your folder and you drag it over into this little section in the program, and it sets it all up, and then you hit start. And then it begins to stack all those photos, and it's almost like a live view. It'll begin to show you the stars and how they begin to streak out like that. So I think, boy, I believe this was probably, I can't remember how many photos it is now, but it's close to 100 is what I used to take this photo. Other adjustment needed, like your white balance. Your white balance will definitely give you a different color of the sky. I believe in this photo, I used auto, and then I adjusted it when I brung it all up in Lightroom. So I brung all those photos up into Lightroom and I adjusted them all at once. So it says, yeah, other adjustments needed in like the white balance, exposure, etc. You can do that in Photoshop or Lightroom. Remember to check your lens for debris and condensation buildup, especially on cooler nights. If you're doing star trails, you're going to be out for quite a while because that's a lot of pictures to take in 30 seconds a piece. So if it's cooler out and it's high humidity, you probably get like a bunch of condensation on your lens. So you may have to stop, wipe your lens off, and then continue. But when you do that, you start seeing these little spaces in your star streak. Star stacks will fill that in if you have that problem. So you don't worry about stopping your camera and cleaning off your lens, because star stacks will fill in that gap if needed. Bring extra batteries. When it's cooler, your batteries tend to drain a lot more. I find that really hard to keep up with in the wintertime when I'm doing snowflakes. But definitely bring your extra batteries with you. Locate an open area if possible, like an open field or over a lake. Sometimes is best. I've done this. This was kind of like in a backyard. My next trip, I think I'll try like the lighthouse and see how well that does. That's pretty open down there. That's another good spot to try. The darker it is, the more detail you'll be able to photograph. The darker it is, of course, the more stars you're going to see. So a lot of light pollution, if you can avoid that, that would be great, because that tends to drown out the stars that are really dim. And the last one is stay away from meteor shower nights. They create an X in your star pattern. So you have your stars going one way, and then you got a meteor. You'll get the meteor going the other way. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to actually, when I have that happen, I take it out. Excuse me. I do believe in this photo, I actually had to do that. If you see, you'll see some of them have like a blank in between. Where I had to either take that photo out because of that, or airplanes is another one that'll mess you up too. A meteor and an airplane you will definitely see in your photo when it's finished. Any questions on light trails or star trails? Sorry.
What time of night do you usually do star trails?
It depends on the season. Like right now, I would probably wait till probably 11 o'clock maybe.
Okay.
Definitely after the sun sets. 11 o'clock to 12 right about now, but like in the cooler months, like in the fall, when it's usually about 10 o'clock when I go out and I do it. Expect to spend about an hour and a half outside when you do it. So dress warm if you're doing it in the cooler months for sure. Any other questions on that?
I have a question. Do you have to open up all your raw files before you stack them? Or do you stack all the raw files? How do you open up 200? If you have 200 of them, how do you do that?
Well, I usually, I open it up in Lightroom first, and I'll make my adjustments. So usually when I'm finished, I switch them over to JPEG. And then, so all Star Stacks is doing is just stacking your photos. You're not doing any type of.
When you adjust in Lightroom, are you adjusting one and then applying it to all the rest?
In Lightroom, that could be another subject in itself. In Lightroom, what I do is I sync all the photos together.
Okay.
So when you sync all those photos together, you're able to adjust them all at the same time.
Got it.
You take one photo and you make your adjustments to that one photo and it adjusts it all of them.
Yeah. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
200 photos is a lot for Lightroom, so
Yeah.
prepare to wait a while it does that. But that's how I adjust everything before I send it over to StarStax.
Okay.
And
Okay, any other questions?
I just have,
Yeah.
I have one suggestion. So you were talking about the lens fogging. What I've done in the past is just take one of those hand warmers you buy that you rip open the package and they start to warm up.
Oh yeah.
I rubber band it to the barrel of the lens and it keeps the lens warm and you don't get the fogging on your lens.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
That's a good tip.
Say that again, Brian. I'm sorry, I got distracted.
The chemical hand warmers you get, they're just in a little
Oh yeah, yeah.
bag. You just rubber band that to the barrel of the lens and it keeps the lens warm. They last for several hours and you
Oh,
won't get fogging on your lens.
very cool.
That's a good one.
Yeah, if I can build on that, that was an idea that I had, but I have not actually tried because I've gone out to fly my drone in cold weather. And what happens then is my iPhone starts to cool down. And then I start getting low power messages from the iPhone and it conks out on me, which makes me very nervous because it's where I can tell where my drone is if I can't actually see it. So I thought about using one of those hand warmers, right under my phone or something like that to keep the phone itself warm.
Good idea.
Yeah, and there are actually commercially available sleeves that go around the barrel of the lens that you can plug into a USB that keep the lens warm. It's cheaper to go and buy a hand warmer.
Yeah, I'll remember that next time. Good stuff to know.
One other question on a different topic. By the way, I'm really enjoying this. Really learning a lot. Really enjoying it. You just did the star trails. Do you have a separate section or maybe at some future time cover photography specifically for meteor showers?
Yes. I've actually done some time lapse, and I think when you do meteor showers, I think time lapse is perfect for that. And I've done a couple videos. Maybe in a future meeting, maybe I can share those with you.
Yeah. It'd be great.
But doing the meteor shower, if you're doing a time lapse, is almost like how you do StarStax, almost in a way. But instead of being a photo, would it be a video? That's all I did was I took multiple photos in 30 seconds with my trigger release in lock mode, and I let it go for I think it was like an hour or so maybe.
Oh.
So yeah, that'd be another subject to cover. That's another good one. I'd love to share a couple videos that I've done before.
That'd be great.
So I've done both of them were over Bear Lake. I've done the moon setting in the west, and I've done another one with a bunch of boats in the water. It come out pretty cool. So yeah, I'd love to share that one with you as well. Any more questions?
Are we coming to the end of your presentation? Because I have some questions for the very end, so I don't want to ask them prematurely.
Oh, I got the moon and a couple other things to cover. If that's
All right, go ahead. Continue then. That'd be great.
Okay. Well, let's go to the moon then. So shooting the moon, this shot I took at 100 ISO at f8, 100th of a second, 400 millimeters, manual mode with a Canon 60D. And then I had the Canon 70 to 200 with a 2x converter. With that 2x converter, makes 200 into a 400. Are you guys able to see me, or are you just seeing the screen?
Just the
Yeah,
screen.
we can see you.
I can see you.
I can see it.
Okay, so you can see me. This is the 70 to 200. I set it on manual mode. It has the optional stabilization on here, which I didn't use. But this is actually, believe it or not, this is broken. It fell off my camera. I was so sad. But I was able to actually capture that before I broke it. This was handheld. And this is where stabilization comes in handy, and you are able to use that. Okay, so slower shutter speed makes the moon look like a sphere. As you can see in this photo, it's kind of blowed out. So here are some settings you can try. So put your camera in manual mode, of course. Select the shutter speed at 1/60th, let's say. And set your ISO to 100 and turn your image stabilization on if you have it on your camera. A tripod may not be needed if you are shooting with a 200 millimeter or more. If that 200 millimeters, it'll bring the moon up close enough to where you can handhold it. And if it's a full moon, it's going to be pretty bright. So you may need to crop and make adjustments in Photoshop or Lightroom. If you can't get that far out and then you have the moon and it looks good, you may have to crop your picture to bring it. This photo was taken at the casino. Actually, as I was working, I actually stopped and I had to take a photo because it was setting in between these two trees. So I didn't get a chance to set it the way I wanted, but I did shoot it anyway. I wanted to use it.
Can hear you, Chris.
No, I'm good. I'm just trying to wrestle with my dog.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right, somebody sounds scrambled. Here's the Milky Way.
Yeah, that's what I was after.
So, since a Milky Way and you're gonna be shooting mostly sky, my ISO was 1600. And to be honest with you, I think I might have been able to go a little lower, but 1600 seemed to come out pretty good.
I go higher.
You can go higher, actually.
I do.
I've seen it at 3200. I haven't seen higher than that, but I've seen it at 3200. F4, of course, your f-stop. F4 was as low as I could go with 24 to 105. I was at 24 millimeters, manual mode. Of course, I was manual focus as well. And I was using the trigger release. And you could see this is actually taking from Arcadia, the lookout there. Anybody ever been there before?
Yes.
Have you ever climbed all the way to the top of the deck?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not in best of shape, and I tell you, when you get to the top, you feel it.
Uh-huh.
But man, what a view! It gives you a great view. If you're gonna do any type of night photography, that's probably the first place I'd probably say go. Okay, so when shooting the Milky Way, there's a site here called Dark Site Finder. We'll click that here in a second. Use this site to find local dark spots in your area. Try using different positions like vertical, horizontal, or even panorama. If you see this picture here, it's same spot in Arcadia, but panorama. I tried that out and it worked out pretty well. Of course, you got to put it together in Photoshop, but it seemed to work out pretty well. Any exposure longer than 30 seconds may turn your stars from dots to dashes. I use this for an example because if you look off to the left in this photo, you see that some of the stars look stretched out. But on the right side, you see that that the stars look pretty good. I do believe maybe I went a little too long with my exposure here on the left side, and that's probably why it turned out that way. So keep that in mind when you're doing shooting stars. When you start getting longer than the 30-second exposure, they tend to start stretching out, almost like a star trail in a sort of a way. So I'm gonna click on this site here. Okay, so if you look here, you see that the different colors, oops, went too far. Uh-oh, I went too far again. There we go. You see the light pollution. And then these little spots here are like national parks that are good places to actually go to do it. They actually put them in here. So if you click on this one says Sleeping Bear National Dune, National Lakeshore. So that's what those are for. So if you wanted to do some stars, and this doesn't have to apply to the Milky Way. This could be the Northern Lights, meteor showers, anything that has to do with night photography. You can use this website to find a dark spot to take photos. And so I'll go here and I'll check this every once in a while to see where a good spot is. And there's not very many, as you can see. But if you look here, this is Lake Michigan. Usually this is where I'll be, is along the lakeshore somewhere. There's a couple other places, but you'll be traveling. And that's up to you, depending if that's what you're going to do. But this website is the one I use to find out where the dark spot is. Any questions on this website here? Okay, so any questions? All right. So here I got a few other photos that I'm going through that I've taken. I just wanted to show you the photo and the formula I used to take it. This is, of course, Mackinac Bridge, another shot that I took. Anybody knows where the Straits State Park is in St. Ignace?
Yep.
Anybody ever camped there before?
Yeah.
This is, I'm actually, in this picture, I'm actually standing in a camping spot. When
Wilderness?
I think it's called Straits State Park. I believe that's what it's called. And it's in St. Ignace. There's like a tractor supply store right there. If you turn right, it dead ends right into the state park. This is where I took this picture at. I was standing in a camping spot. I do believe it was like 42 or 48. I think that was the number of the camping spot. Anyways, that was right on the lake, and I thought that was an awesome spot. And this is where I took this photo at.
Beautiful, beautiful.
ISO 100. Look at my f-stop. That was one of my newer lenses, 1.4. Is a 15-second shot. 85 millimeters, manual mode. And that's the Sigma Prime lens that I have.
Those are nice lenses.
Yeah, the art lenses are really good.
It's a good series.
And here is South Haven. It was actually darker out than what this photo is actually showing, but there's a 30-second exposure on that bad boy with the 24 to 105. When I took this, that's what I had, and so that come out pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have some other helpful sites to visit. Michigan Dark Sky Parks. If you go here, it gives you a whole list of parks that are designated to night, almost like night photography parks that you can go to. There's a whole bunch of them here. They have different events that they hold at these parks. So there's one in here that's like a meteor shower and s'mores. So you'll be sitting by a campfire and you'll be able to photograph the meteor showers as well. And some of these. I do believe the Dark Park by Mackinac City is in here. I do believe it's the one in here in the International Designated Sky Park. But check this website out. You'll definitely like the way they have it set up. Okay, so for your best lens and cameras for your type of photography, go to dxomark.com. They field test everything. They field test cell phones, cameras, all kinds of stuff, and they score it. That's how I came across the Sigma, because in their scoring system, in my price range that I was able to afford to buy, they were the best to buy for my camera. As far as sharpness, portrait, landscape, sports, they tested on all that stuff. And they said that the 85 millimeter was the best lens for my camera. Now, your camera may be different, but check that out. And if you decide to buy something, go here to find out what they have to say about it and find out if it fits you right or not. I highly recommend this spot. And the next one is it's an app. It's another app, kind of like the Photographer's Emphasis, kind of how the way they set it up. It's a paid app, but it works really well. It pinpoints where the sun is going to rise, where it's going to set. It shows you where the Milky Way is going to be. It shows different stars, what time the sun's going to set. It's a pretty useful app. It's $10, but it's a nice app to use, and it takes a minute to kind of understand it. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty decent if you plan on doing a night photography. And then the last one is Discount Canvas. I use this when I want to print off large prints like canvas, acrylic, metal. They do it all on this website, and it's pretty decent. If you see this price list here, what does it start out at? $5 for a small canvas. Really good setup. I like this place. I use this place a lot. I do a lot of work for the casino. And when they want a large print, this is the website I go to get a large print from. That's it. Any questions?
Well, Russ, that was absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much. I learned so much. I have a couple of questions. One is, are you comfortable sending your presentation file to Brian so we can get it up on the Facebook page?
Oh, absolutely.
Great. And secondly, maybe you would consider leading a nighttime photography excursion for either Northern Lights or Milky Way or something like that at some point when we're all out and about again.
Oh, absolutely. Meteor showers too.
Yeah.
That's a great one to do as well.
Yeah.
Because that's time lapse. I know a little bit about time lapse as well. That'd be a great opportunity to actually present that when that happens. Yeah, absolutely. I'll do whatever you would like me to do. That'd be awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
Most
Yeah.
welcome.
So I'm gonna hurry us along so we can get through the critiques.
Okay, I just want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
This is Google Slide.
Okay.
It was all for free. As you can see, I did all this on here.
Wow.
It also gives me the option to print. And what I'd like to do, if it's okay with everybody, is to print a few of these, and the next time we do get together, I'll have them available.
Yeah, great.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay,
We learned a lot. Thank you.
All right, okay. Thank you.
I've got something to put in here before we move on, and it'll be a quick one.
It has to be quick because we've got those critiques.
If you're not familiar with the site Astronomy Picture of the Day, I suggest you look it up. It's APOD, and they do have a picture every day with some remarks by astronomers or photographers. They feature all kinds of stuff, including the night sky, the kinds of pictures you've been talking about. And they have a searchable record if you're looking for particular types of sky photography. It's excellent, and you can look at it for like 3 minutes once a day and see some great stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'm going to scooch us along. Oh, there we all are.
Okay.
Brian, I'm going to hand the meet. Thank you so much. It's excellent.
Thank you.
Brian, I'm going to hand the meeting over to you.
Okay, so we had 5 entries this month for texture. We didn't have any judges. Nobody volunteered to be a judge. So I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to share the pictures on the screen. They're numbered. Obviously, it's anonymous at this point. And I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of do a roundtable, let people discuss what they feel about the pictures, what they like about the pictures. Now, each person designated what they would like as a critique level. I'm going to bring that up. So just to remind everybody what that is, what I'm talking about. If I can get to my screen here. There we are. And give me 1 second. Okay, so I should be able to share my screen now. Perhaps. Give me a minute.
Technical difficulties.
Well, I've got dual monitors, so trying to juggle between the two here. So I want to share this one.
Here we go.
Okay, you should see, I'm going to expand this here, start the slideshow. So you should see just the CC1, CC2. Is that what you guys are seeing?
Yep.
Okay, so just a reminder of what each level is. Obviously, CC1 is gentle feedback, mostly positive. 2 is positive and negative. 3, tough love, some tough love. And then 4 is anything goes. So that's kind of what we're looking for feedback coming back and for the photographers to get back. And again, feel free to share. I think we'll just kind of open it up for comments when we look at each photo, and we can discuss them, and we'll just go through each of the 5. And then at the end, we'll choose our favorite. So.
Okay, we'll do an anonymous vote.
Yep, we can do it through the chat function like we did last time.
Yep, sounds great. All right. This is texture, right?
This is texture, correct.
Okay.
Okay. Here's our first one. You can see this is a CC4. So anything goes.
Really nice. I like the frog shadow. That's
Yeah, for me, this one was a very nice
nice
bonus.
element.
Yeah, you got the texture of the leaf there, and then you've got the surprise. I mean, if you're not really paying attention at first, you don't realize what that shadow is. So I really like this image a lot.
Nice and clear.
Yeah, it's very sharp.
Yeah, it's very, very well done. Very, very well exposed.
I think it's an amazing image. It's fun to just look at. I see there are a few spots lens spots up on the top there. Could be cleaned up a little.
And actually, Chris, I don't know if they're lens spots or they're actually defects in that leaf.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
Yeah.
could be one
Yeah.
or the other. But it almost looks to me like they're defects in the leaf. Well, I shouldn't say defects,
Okay.
differences
Okay.
in the leaf pattern.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that a little lens flare on the bottom left with that little
The blue.
lens flare, I think, on the bottom left?
Yeah, the underside of that, yeah, on the kind of
Yeah.
curves under there,
Maybe.
it looks like it might be a slightly overexposed a bit, yeah. But not horrible, but
No,
Yeah.
it's blue to my eyes, and so it
Yeah.
gives a nice little contrast.
yeah, it's a little bit bluish, yeah.
Maybe they didn't have a lens hood on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that leaf in the upper right, that spot there, that may be a different leaf in the foreground.
Yeah, I think it is. Well, I think it's nice.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We ready for the next one?
Yes.
Okay. There's definitely plenty of texture here as well between the cone and the sand there. I like this one because it, you know, typically you see people take pictures of like a perfect pine cone or try to get a perfect pine cone. And this is kind of a shot of decay, which I think is kind of cool. It's different. The focus is really nice on the cone. I like this photo as well.
I like it too. I like the colors. I like the texture. I might have a slightly different opinion on the focus or the sharpness. We don't have any info about what they use, do we? What their settings were?
I mean, I probably could dig into the actual file and look if it's included in the metadata, but I did not do that for each one.
Yeah. Okay, that's okay. I think for me, I really like it. I think that the colors are good, the textures are nice, but I think for my eyes, I would like to see more evenness through from head to toe so that the top part of the pine cone is also in focus. So maybe like F32 or F45 or something like that to get more depth of field.
Sure. Okay.
Any other thoughts?
All right, we'll move on.
It's pleasant. It's pleasant. Yeah. It's nice.
Move on to the next one then. Number 3.
That tells a story.
Yeah, it does.
And that's exactly what I said, Chris, when I first saw it. It's just like, you look and there's lots of texture there. And it's like, okay, why is that lock there? What in the world? So I really like this image as well.
That's great. Yeah.
On that one.
What's that?
There's definitely a story there.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a nice composition.
it is a wonderful composition, but again, I think there's some motion or fuzziness, particularly on the left. I think it could be sharper.
Yeah.
And I think it could be sharper actually on the lock. I think my one big, what do they want, CC2? What is CC2?
3.
Positive and
It's
negative?
3. Tough love.
No, that's CC4. So this is CC2. So
It says CC3. Oh, I'm
says-
looking at number 3. Sorry. Yeah. You're right.
so again, I think a higher f-stop of F, 22, 32, 45. And I don't know if they used a tripod, but I think that would have helped as well. So that would be my thoughts on it. But I think the story and the composition is just amazing.
Ditto. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a happenstance because of the scene, but that lichen, I'm liking the lichen that's right next to the lock there, and the one up above.
Yeah.
That really adds texture to the texture shot.
Yeah. But again, I think it could be more detailed. But yeah,
At first, I wasn't sure what that rubber string thing. I thought, was that a snake? And I guess it's just some kind of wire, huh?
Some kind of wire, yeah.
I kept focusing on that.
That's a red pine.
Is it? Okay.
The red pine. I call it potato chip tree. It's got all that potato chip bark.
Huh. Making me hungry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Move
really
to the next.
clever shots.
Clever.
Okay. I think it has nice light.
Yeah, that's what I see too. It's nice, warm light.
Mhm.
The lichen there's plenty of texture between the lichen and the grain of the wood, the older wood there.
I don't know, maybe my eyes are funky this morning, but the left, I mean, I think it could be sharper. This is CC4, so the left looks blurrier, so I don't know where the focus for the camera was. I think the textures and the lighting is nice, but again, I think it could be sharper right, on the trunk and then kind of on the stumps and then kind of fade. Oops, and then I like the way it blurs as it goes out, on the top. I think that's kind of cool. You're making me dizzy here, Brian.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But I think if I had one thing to say, it would be to use a tripod if they didn't, and to sharpen that up a little bit. I don't know what other people's thoughts are.
I'd like to see,
Well,
I like
yeah,
the
the grain in the foreground is nice and sharp, but the lichen is a little fuzzy and
See, I don't see the grain in the foreground being sharp.
really.
I think it can be a lot sharper, particularly on the left.
Well, I think
And
in the
go
middle,
ahead.
in the middle of the photo, the grain is sharper. Yes. Yeah. And I guess my one thing that I would say is the lichen actually seems to, like, on the edges there, it's a bit overexposed, so you lose a bit of the detail there.
Yeah.
But I like the light, the warmth of the light, and the angle and everything that you see
Yeah.
there, shadows and everything.
It's well composed for sure.
Yes.
It's a good catch.
Looking at the lichen at the top of it is fading into, depth of field issues. I don't mind that the stuff at the very top is faded out.
Yeah, I think that looks nice.
But if the lichen at the very top there didn't quite fade into the depth of field so much and was a little sharper, it would add more texture to the texture.
And I just thinking about it as I look at it, I almost think that I would crop this in a landscape rather than a square, and remove the out of focus grain at the bottom, and in that way just include the lichen, mostly just the lichen, and then have it fade towards out of focus at the top.
That's an interesting thought. That might solve some issues here, because wouldn't it really draw the eye to that threesome of lichen right at the top?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh? And I like that little hole there on the right.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a good capture for sure. It's a great composition.
Okay. Move on to our last one here.
Oh.
Interesting. The whole thing is CC what? What is this one?
Oh, shoot. Just a second, I'll tell you. I think
No, it says
I can figure it out.
the whole thing appears soft. The whole thing is.
Let's wait till I find out what we're supposed to be commenting here. Had it written down, but I just have to find it. It's CC3.
CC3. Tough love. But I think it's a wonderful composition, but it's just too soft. It's not sharp
Well, it's artsy though.
anywhere.
Yeah,
It's
Very artsy.
It's very artsy, and that I think
It's great.
is quite lovely. I agree, Deb. The composition is really
It's lovely.
fantastic.
It's
And-
disappointing that it's not, there's no sharp focus.
I thought maybe it was designed to be soft so that it
Mhm.
highlights the tendrils of the little fibers in the middle of that iris.
If they were sharp, that would work.
yeah, I like this photo. I think there is, if you look in the upper left, the petal where it comes down there is some sharpness there. So that it's just that it's such a razor thin depth of focus. It's just a slightly off for the fibers there, or whatever those are called. And I'd like to see it maybe a little, maybe a little. And again, this varies probably on what monitor you're looking on. But on my monitor, it looks like it's just slightly underexposed. Not a lot, but it's a beautiful, beautiful photo. I love the color, and I love the transition in color in those fibers or hairs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
On the tips there, where there's on the left there, where they're at pink, and then they fade into kind of a lighter pink, and it's a beautiful image.
I think so too. I don't mind the out of focus, the soft focus is not out of focus, but soft focus, because it gives it such a artsy kind of painterly feel. It kind of reminds me of Kathleen Clemens' work. I mean, I think you know, if you wanted a different type of photo, you could really take it into some programs and sharpen up those fibers,
Sure.
or even use your depth of field a little bit differently, or a tripod. I mean, I don't know, but personally, I find it quite lovely.
It is, and it's a very nice composition too.
It is a beautiful composition, and I think it's got a real painterly feel, and there's so much flow to it in different directions that I think it's really very nice.
Okay.
Mohawk.
It does.
Very beautiful photo.
Yeah, I really think it's excellent. Someone really has an eye, whoever did this. They have an eye. Maybe they redo that with a different f-stop. Yeah.
So, do you want to run through them all just so you're familiar? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or are you ready to vote?
Yeah, let's run through them one more time, just real quick. Bring them up, Brian. That's a great idea.
Okay, so you should see the CC1 screen again.
Yep.
Here's number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5.
They're just all really kind of very nice, aren't they?
They are.
That's really, really very nice.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. If I can figure out how to do that again. There we are. Okay. All right, so to vote, in the bottom center of your screen, you should see the chat button.
Yep.
So you should be able to click on that chat button. And on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see the Zoom group chat.
And we're going to just check you.
Yep, so at the bottom you send 2, just choose me. And choose which number, and then I'll track. 2 votes so far.
How do I send it now?
Should
Yeah, how do we
hit enter.
enter?
Oh, that's simple.
Should be.
Okay.
Okay. Did it go?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I see yours, Debbie.
Okay, thanks. Well, I'm glad I could vote this time.
Well, you got the vote last time. You just couldn't do it anonymously.
Yeah.
So I either voted or voted twice. I'm not sure.
Sorry, who was that?
That was Sharon. I either voted or voted twice. I'm not sure.
It looks like it came through twice, but it's in one chat, so I see it. I see which one you chose.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
All right, trying to vote twice, eh?
I am. I'm getting ready.
No, no politics. Thank you.
okay.
Okay, I just sent ours. I sent ours because we're using mine, and I put both checks in my name with our.
I see it. Yeah.
Great.
Last call here. All
I'd
right.
like to say those were some very nice photographs there.
Absolutely.
I'm impressed with the quality of work that our members are doing. And I thought there were some good, on the mark things being said about the photos as well.
I think I have everybody's vote, and I get a vote this week. So our winner is number 1, the frog.
Oh,
Let me see if I can get that back up on the screen here for us so we can look at it again. I believe the person who shot this picture is on the call.
do they want to reveal themselves?
Would you like to reveal yourself, or do you want to keep it anonymous? This will go in the paper.
Sure. Can you hear me? This is Carl Brown. That's my photograph.
Oh, congratulations, Carl.
Oh, way to go, Carl.
Good job, sir.
Very,
Thanks a lot.
very nice. Yeah, thank you for submitting. And, I think all of the compositions were very good and very clever and really well done. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go.
There you go. Yeah, it's a very nice image, Carl. Beautiful.
It is.
Thank you.
It's a fun one.
Very fun. Surprising.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that a live frog or?
No, it's actually a piece of lettuce from Myers and a plastic frog toy.
Plastic frog.
Unbelievable. That's so cool.
Very creative.
I was wondering because it was so, it stayed there, so you take a picture.
Right. Yeah.
Call this a real frog.
It would be a lot of patience to get a real frog. They wouldn't. They're not very good models.
That is so clever, and it's good to
Yeah.
say how you did it, so, everybody can be thinking about how to do setup photography, where it's not just
Right.
out in nature. Yeah,
Yeah.
very imaginative.
That's
Very good.
I wouldn't have guessed.
Carl's very creative.
Thank you.
When I first saw this, I thought of the frog sitting on a lily pad. When I first saw it.
exactly what I was thinking it was too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So that was natural light. You're outside. Is that natural light?
Yeah, that's natural light. Yep.
It's always the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just pinned the piece of lettuce to a old clothes hanger rack, and then just put the camera underneath on a tripod.
Yeah. You can't beat natural light.
Very cool.
Great.
Good.
Very nice. Well, Brian, thank you once again for leading the critiques. You're going to set it up so it's in the paper,
Yes.
and maybe you and I can chat a little bit about just some things I'm thinking of to add to that
Okay.
write-up.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you want to announce what our next challenge is?
Sure. Our next challenge, it should be a pretty easy one for us since we're in now, believe it or not, going to be in July, which is blowing me away that we're already through June almost. The next challenge is summertime. So that's a pretty wide open category. That could be anything from shots at the beach, anything that would remind you of summertime. That can be people, anything. A nice wide open category, but along the theme of summertime, or what summertime means to you.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay.
That's good. And so how many can people submit? Just one or up to two or?
One. I think
per?
we'll still do one per.
Okay.
We got 2 more this time. Next month we may get, especially with a wide open category like this, we probably will get some more submissions. So we'll just say 1 per person.
All right, and we're capping it at 10? I'm trying to.
Let's cap it at 10 for next month. So the first 10 of you that would like to submit,
Okay.
I'll have another write up and post it on Facebook, but same situation. Send me an email to the MCPAC email address there, and then I'll send you a link so that you can upload it to a folder.
Sounds great. Okay, so it's 11:45. I just have a few announcements and then we can call it a meeting. I think it was a great meeting. How are people feeling about it?
Yes,
Very good.
we're loving it. Thank you
Good.
so much.
Thank you
I
for
love it.
joining us. Huh?
Chris, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if some of the people who aren't entering are like me, amateurs. I mean, I felt a little intimidated, but this is how I learn.
Yeah.
I like the criticism. I need that.
Mhm.
And if somehow maybe we could get that to some of the other members, I'm not sure. But, there's so many of you that are professionals that it is a little intimidating.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's part of it.
Well, yes, it is. And that's what we want. Did you submit this time?
I did.
Okay. Would you feel comfortable, you don't have to say what photo was yours, but would you feel comfortable writing a post on the Facebook page, just sharing your own?
Oh, that would be a good idea.
Your thoughts and feelings about where you're at as a photographer and why you kind of pushed yourself to do the critique.
Okay.
Was the critique helpful or did you find it too much?
Oh, I love them. I mean, that's why
I mean on your photo. Was that okay?
On mine?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And it was exactly what I thought would be said.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I would encourage you to make that post. That would be great. And any of us that can encourage people to post more on Facebook photos. And we can post off challenge photos too.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Ann. That's great.
Yeah, it's so helpful. I would like to see more people do it.
Yeah. Good.
What we're finding, but for us, is we still don't get out our fancy camera. We're still just grabbing our cell phone and taking pictures. So there's not any, technique to that you can really do except the composition. So, we'll post those on the site, but we hadn't really wanted them to be have it as a critique yet. So we just got to get used to.
You can criticize mine.
Okay. All right. But, it wouldn't be like I had, my special camera and had selected the specific f-stop and all that. So,
but I don't think it has to be because, clearly at the beginning when I opened the club up, I said cell phone photographers. And I think some cell phones take some pretty nice photos.
Oh, yes, they do.
Right. But I can't control the factors. I can see what the cool composition is, but I can't control maybe, things that I could with a different type of camera.
Yeah. Well, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm finding it sounds strange after talking to cell phones, but I'm finding with my compact camera, I'm thinking I'm going to buy another camera that can do multiple exposures. And one thing that really bugs me is a remote shutter release, not having that.
Yeah.
Or having one that doesn't work. That's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking into maybe another camera, or I might steal Shali's for a while. Although that's one that has a remote shutter that doesn't work very well. It's UV. I can't believe it's UV light or infrared, one or the other. But if you're in bright sunlight, it doesn't work.
Oh,
Behind it, it doesn't work. Or if you're off to the side, it doesn't work. I can't believe they didn't do it with a radio. So I got to look into that and see if anybody's doing a remote shutter release with some kind of radio.
yeah.
It's Wi-Fi, seem to be.
Yeah, maybe we can have a
All that.
lesson on different kinds of cameras that are good choices too. Sometime.
Okay, that would be great. So yeah, any recommendations or ideas for presentations or just general camera club conversations that we could build into a meeting, I welcome, because I want this to be a collaboration. I don't want it just to come from my head or the board's head. So, you know, whatever you got, throw it our way.
All right.
After I
thank you.
figure some of these out, I might do that.
Okay.
Yes, please. So in speaking of the board, I'm going to talk with the board about perhaps moving our July meeting to Zoom and canceling the camera and cocktails at Magoon Creek. Because there is an uptick in Manistee. We have 3 more cases of corona. And there's a big uptick in Traverse City. And people are out and about more. And I think on July 3rd, you know, there's going to be a huge dance party on the beach. And those people are going to be out in the community afterwards. So I just as soon err on the side of caution. And so I'll discuss with the board and I'll put a notice out.
I was wondering if we'd be ready for that yet.
Yeah.
We'll probably
I mean,
be in when we get back.
Gransdell is opening on July 7th, and they've got all the precautions in place. But I think for the club, we can maybe be a bit more cautious. So next month, July 25th, Richard, say his last name, Debbie, because you always correct me.
Galaxy.
Richard Gallacy, who is in Muskegon now. He's been Debbie's longtime printer, and I use him now too. And he does amazing work. You just send him the files, and he mails up the prints and stuff. He already agreed to do a Zoom presentation if that's what we wanted to move to. So I encourage you to come because he talks about everything printing. It's kind of his passion to help people understand how to shoot to print and to encourage people to print more. So spread the word. I'm very excited about August 13th. This is an evening Zoom presentation. It's from 7 to about 8:30 or 9. Self-expression through imagery. This is Steve Koppel from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. If you haven't been to his site, please go. He's an amazing photographer and does a lot of National Seashore and Brewster Flats water photography. And then on September 26th, Mike Moats, who runs the Mike Moats Macro Club. And if you want to learn about macro or close-up photography, check out his club. It's, I think, $79 for a lifetime membership. His videos are like 2 to 3 minutes long, so they're very manageable. I've been a member for a number of years. I think, Carol, you're a member, right? She's muted, but I think Carol's a member.
Yes.
But anyway, he agreed to do a Zoom presentation on his work and equipment. So I encourage you to do that. They'll all be Zooms. And then, you know, again, any ideas you have for other presentations, let me know and I'll try to get them lined up for the fall, for after September. So I'm excited. I think we have a great lineup.
I do too.
So, any comments or questions before we close the meeting?
I just wanted to say again, Russell, what a great job.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you, Russ.
Yeah, nice job.
I would actually like to maybe call you on the phone and talk over a few things.
Sure, absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yep.
All right. How do I get your phone number?
I'll just give it to you right now.
Okay.
690-3468.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll talk about the photo pills. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of complicated. All right.
anything else?
Well, that's it.
I thought I caught something out there. I like the photos of the Mackinac Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Some years ago, we stumbled across a place with a great view of the bridge. And it's to the west on the southern peninsula. There's a neighborhood of cottages back there. And you've got to wend your way through the roads that are closest to the lake. And there's a point where all of a sudden there's this big vacant lot that goes down to the shore. And there's like a picnic table or something like that. It's like a lake access or a local place.
Yeah, public access.
Yeah. It's got a great shot, a great view of the bridge, perspective that most people don't see. And it's probably a neighborhood thing, but if somebody says, hey, what are you doing here? You say, oh, I'm visiting Uncle Adam, who's just down the road back there. And we like this spot, so we're just here to take some photos. Anyway, if you're up there looking about, you could try finding that spot.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, thanks, Ralph.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, great. I think we're moving along quite well as a group, so that's nice. All right, I'll see you all in July.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Thank you.